Welcome to Light Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me Blair Fox. Blair, it's good to finally have you on here.
I'm happy to be here. I'm eager to see what we get into.
It's going to be really, really interesting. We're talking about healing today, and we're going to be talking about different methods of healing. And let's start out with toning therapy. Using vocals to heal things. Now, this is kind of very broad because there's a number of different things that you can do with this. There's physical healing, emotional balance. You can also help realign your chakras. And isn't that right, Blair?
Yes, absolutely. So if you guys are familiar with the Chaldean oracles and the Gregorian chants, they they have an elements that to intone their mantras does affect the cells to some degree. I've also heard that the chambers that they used to do their rituals in were cymatically, which that means of music, but made mathematically tailored to their voices. The architecture was 111 hertz, and they intoned off of that, and that's what I know on that. And I always found that fascinating.
That is fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up. That kind of reminds me of the music industry kind of changing the vibration of how songs are recorded now. You know how they kind of tweak the frequency. And
Yes,
so now when you hear people's voices singing and you hear kind of, I guess you could say, in a way, toning, vocal toning going on, how different would it be if that frequency was adjusted to where it was beneficial for us and then those same songs were sung? How different would that vocal uh toning affect the population, would you say?
I would answer that question by first drawing your attention to the character Travis Scott. People that attend his shows tend to die. And then I would look towards anything like the Dogons or the Grigori, and you can see actively what you just insinuated, that there are certain tones that, if used correctly, they can heal you. They're designed to, and to abuse them just a little bit, it's I heard that our natural tone is supposed to be like 442, and the music industry does something like set their stuff to like 440. Um, I could be off on that number, but it's something along those lines. And that's to insinuate how these things can be used to kill. I mean, music is very sensitive, as are we.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe music itself is a spell. I mean, the mouth is and the vocal cords are more powerful than people give credit for. I mean, they can build people up or tear them down. It could make people get up and do things, or just it can cause all kind of reactions. It all depends in on the intent of whoever is using those vocal cords.
That brought an idea to mind. So I would suggest this: is it really um, the mouth per se, or is it an emotional mouth versus a mouth using emotion? Because you can get your point across to any person. It's the states of the emotion when you're projecting, is it not? I could be wrong, but that might have a lot to do with how we master that too.
I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the state of mind of the person. I think it depends on how balanced or imbalanced that person is. And like I said, what their intent is. Because even when you do a spell and you're lighting a candle and you're saying your incantation, your intent is going to determine how that spell is going to turn out. And it's the same thing when you decide to speak to a group of people, or whether it be one person or a group, whatever your intent is, I think it depends on all those factors tying in. What do you think about that?
That's entirely possible. personally, my opinion on the
Yeah.
matter is I I've always seemed to have that wait to respond nature that others don't seem to react the same. So I can identify that you are most likely right. Just me personally, I don't. It's not that black and white for me.
Okay. All right. No, it's no problem. But yeah, man, as far as the vocal toning, it can really affect your chakras. Um, I mean, it's the people, the sound Om is often used, and people tend to do that to align the third eye chakra, to bring more spiritual awareness. Um, but it can also enhance your meditation. So you know it can help to achieve more profound states of mindfulness, inner peace, things like that. But
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually,
yeah,
if you look at these principles of the universe, if you will, and metaphorically associate them with the laws of music, like we're talking rhythm, oscillation,
yeah,
vibration, um, frequency. Um, what you just insinuated there, it would definitely be on the tone, the term of frequency. Um, yeah, I think I made my point. I apologize.
no, you're good, man. You're good. Now, then we have what's called life alignment therapy. And this is something unique because it tends to release a person from their past, so that they could just continue on.
There
And I
is a.
think, go ahead.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't know you weren't finished.
No, go ahead. I want you to make your point
So
here. Yeah.
I just discovered a type of astrology chart system that's called a past life reading.
Okay.
And I was wondering the relevance of it until you just said that. And that's very interesting. So we have a system that can allow us to integrate past lives to heal emotional trauma or generational trauma.
Okay. I think that in certain instances, looking at your past lives can be helpful, and I know that there's a time and a place for that for certain people and certain circumstances. But the concept as a whole is not too beneficial to most of humanity, because I think there's a reason why we don't remember our past lives. It's because we're trying to learn certain lessons in this current life that we have. And if we constantly dwell on our past lives, I think that can kind of cause us to lose focus on what our mission is supposed to be here and what our lesson is supposed to be learned here. Would you agree with that statement?
Circumstantially, I mean, at our current level, I mean, speaking for the general populace, they
Right.
would take it in a human way, wouldn't they? And it would have to be the opposite because those what it really alludes to, what I've figured out along my path and journey is that to remember any of that is literally the achievement of immortality. It's not necessarily you physically living forever. It's the memory barrier that prevents you from remembering all that you are and were. And so now for us, I mean, would we? There's a lot of us experiencing newer phenomena as of late, and I would say these very real forces are very well explained with real. Um, if you're arrogant, probably, but I I do not see humanity using that extent. But that's just
Mm,
me.
okay. Okay, understood. Um, Now, life alignment, it can help you to access your higher self. So if you're having problems accessing your higher self, I would say to go with this kind of therapy. It'd be very beneficial, but it'll also increase your energy levels. And um, if you have problems, physical problems like with the organs and things like that, it can also help with that. But back to the higher self, that's very important.
Yes.
And you know, what do you have to say about that?
Well, all of these topics that you've brought up, I have three books that are all on these topics.
Okay.
To anybody interested in further research, check out Discovering Your Past Lives by Gloria Chadwick. The Book of Soul Retrieval by Enoch Petrusili, and Enter Mopai by James Van Gelder. These have the energetic conditions to heal your trauma, find the origin point of its cause, and practice in a method where you can perpetuate said healing. Um, these are very new, but very well timed developments, practices. I feel like we've had stuff like this for the longest time, and we just didn't pay any mind to it until we knew that it connected to music. And that's what I'm going to end my statement on. Like, this is something that is still all about music, and that's what makes it worth it, in my
Well,
opinion.
I think that there is some truth to that statement because everything is vibration.
Yes.
When you everything at the subatomic level, when you go eventually, it's vibration. So yes, I would agree with you on that. Now, this type of therapy that we're speaking of, I do believe that it can also clear certain some people have blocks like contracts in the past that they either completely forgot about or just kind of just tuned out. And sometimes I think those need to be addressed in order for people to move on in life and so that there won't be certain kind of chaos that keeps creeping up. What do you think about that?
So there is a type of astrology, I do believe it's Mayan, where it gives you your tone, the tone that you took on when you first came.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm mentioning this is my intuition says that what you have just mentioned, that would be the approach, is to find your galactic tone, as it's called, your tone, and to emanate that tone to initiate healing.
Okay. All right. Well said. Well said, brother. So let's talk about hydrotherapy using water. Um, Now, water can help us, in lots of ways. Skin related issues, burns, arthritis, that type of thing. But it can also help with, it can ease mental symptoms as well. It can also, if you have any mental issues, it can help with that. Sometimes it's just as simple as sitting in a bath, just a warm bath, or um, sometimes, you know, some people prefer a cold sauna. But would you agree with what I had just said?
Oh, every last bit. I really liked how you said cold sauna. So this development, this practice, we can give credit to Dr. Hisaru Emoto. Most of you guys know this name as the Japanese doctor guy who froze 3 different glasses of water, said I loved you to one, I hate you to one, and ignored the other one. And we found out that on the molecular level, your words do affect your reality because of this man's efforts. And then we also found out that water is alive. And thus, the philosophers were being a little bit more literate when they said that water is she is memory.
You know what? I did see something like that where in fact, it changed the shape of the water, and in fact,
Yes,
yeah, and also sometimes the water forms certain symbols. Sometimes if you had like if you say to the water, you start speaking about love, it might form what looks like kind of a shape of a heart or just symbols that correspond to what the word said. And it's just like, they are alive. We do believe in, everything is alive at a molecular level. So that
yes,
would make sense, and that's why when your intent is everything in magic. Even just doing something simple as that, I guess you could say, would be considered magic because you're affecting things at the molecular level, putting your will into it, and therefore changing reality. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, therein lies the entire code to when the master says, do everything with awareness, or your creation too will not be aware. I mean, flawlessly. You could not have said it any better.
Right on, man. Well, that is something I thought I would want to go ahead and go over. Um, Other methods of healing, breath work. It's just something I wanted to briefly mention. Breath work, of course, we know, um, the type of breathing that I do when I'm stressed out. I'll just do the typical, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just let it go, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's something. Um, Breath work can help you get into the beta or theta states, and I often like to use that when I'm doing a spell or putting my intent out into the universe for it to manifest. Do you have anything that you want to say about breath work?
Yes, actually. First, I want to say that while listening to you, I seem to have experienced some bibliomancy. There is a type of breathing called Dantian breathing, and apparently, it uses the 13 chakra system, so it accounts for the eighth chakra, but also there are micro chakras beneath the main ones, and these centers I have been led to believe are called the Dantians. Now, the main of them are three, and all of this energy cultivation, energy healing, the manipulation of yang force is all of breathing through the Dantians, as I've discovered so far. And on that part that I chuckled at, that I came across, check this out. I think the crowd's going to like this too. The method used by the ancients for escaping from the world consisted of refining dregs in order to return to pure Quan, the matter of dissolving the lower self and completing the higher self. And turning the light around is the method of dissolving yin and controlling the lower self. I'm going to stop there. I trust my intuition. I think that was very well said.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Now, one last thing that I want to mention, one last method of healing is astrological healing. And this is something I think that some people tend to overlook. Um, Now that can include wearing gemstones, excuse me, associated with certain planetary energies that are around at the time, rituals, mantras, etc. One thing I will say concerning astrological healing is that if someone is going through heartbreak and their emotions are all over the place, they're very sad. Neptune is good for emotional healing. Would you agree with that?
Yes. In fact, for emotional healing specifically, I would set your prayer, your intention, most likely on a Friday, the day of Venus, and you would plan to draw down the sphere of Neptune. To those of you that are not aware, Neptune is the higher octave of the moon. So it is, you are dragging a shadow into the light. That is why it is deep. Um, and under the right circumstances, Neptune is beautiful energy and will always lead in a positive direction if respected properly. I do want to say before we end our session tonight that planetary magic to this very day is the most potent of them all, and it is equally the most overlooked, and it has more potential to unravel.
Yeah. I think some people tend to get intimidated when they see those astrological charts. Some people, either whether they can not read them at all or whether they can just halfway read them, um, they tend to say, "Well, that's a little complicated for me. Let me just try another method that's simple." But they could be just missing out on something that's groundbreaking for them.
Absolutely. Took me a minute. I'm still learning what the asteroid system means. I mean, the asteroid system has a bunch of mystical names in it, and the correspondences to see there, um, it intrigues me. I'm just learning on how to get away with bringing up conjunctions and things like that. I just learned that you have a white moon, Selena, which is the opposite of your black moon Lilith. So, and on that, the white moon Selena is your soul's purpose or nature. But that's what I know on that. It's all great, fascinating stuff.
It is fascinating. It is, and we'll have to jump more into that later on and choose a specific topic in astrology or just astrology in general. But
When that day comes, I will by that time be in a possession called Planetary Magic by Deng and Phillips. I think it's going to be great. I hope it is.
yeah, and I'm gonna go through my library and go reread some of the books I have on astrology. And let's do let's do something. Yeah, man. So everyone who's watching, check out Blair Fox's all his social media stuff below in the video description. It's good to finally have you on Light Sorcery and talk about some positivity. But
Thank you.
everyone
Thank you so much.
everyone who's watching, like and subscribe to Light Sorcery.